I think we're live. There we go. Yeah, the welcome everyone. The flight plan for Chuck's just doing a filing on VATSIM, even though we don't have any controllers. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. I've got a special guest here in the John Fly pit. Super excited to have off-sched descent here with us. He's going to be teaching all of us some more information about the 737. And I'm really honored to have him here. I've been picking his brain all morning. Always very envious of these real-world pilots. Let's see if the streamy PC view works. Boop. There we go. So,
gotta subscribe.
Yeah, there you go. First ever sighting of off-sched descent's hand. Is your microphone working? Let's test your mic.
Howdy, howdy. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I need a sound check on off-sched here. Good morning to... Did some of that scroll off the screen? Iowa Scotsman. That's the other mouse, but don't worry about it. We got Kool-Aid. I can scroll up here. Hold on. We got P-Clax. Hello, St. Wolfric 777. Iowa Scotsman. Kool-Aid Jammer 07. Trigger 911. We got D-Money's 327. Hello, Longitude, Sounder AU. Puff MTD 123. Cajun Cacti with the subscribe. 3-year. He got his 3-year chat badge today. We got a flash of 3 up on the camera here. We also have yeah, there you go. DMB Bird 48. Welcome. Wild Hair from Utah also. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. We're going to be flying power set today. We got blended winglets. We filed on VATSIM. I don't think we have any controllers nearby, but anyway, how you doing this morning?
Good.
Off-sched? Chuck?
Good. Up earlier than usual, but it's well worth it. And I'm experiencing SimMB setup in here.
Yeah, if you go off of that microphone too far, you're fine. But if you look that way, it'll go off a little bit. But Sounder AU with the subscribe, 11 months. Thank you for the subscribe, Sounder AU. Appreciate that. Denise 737. Good morning. So, what time did you get up this morning? You said you got up at 5?
5:30.
To do what?
Workout.
That thing called exercise?
Yep.
That's amazing. I never do that. But
you got to realize too, 5:30, 7:30 body clock time. So
it's East Coast.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you hear yourself, by the way, in your headphones?
No.
So if you turn up let me see, I'm going to change it so you can hear yourself because it might be a little bit better. But you can hear me okay, right?
I hear you great, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make one change here. So we're going to go to routing, and your headphones are there. Microphone. That's that. Well, you're not going to hear yourself for now, I guess, because it says...
I don't want to hear myself, to be honest.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. We're going to cold and dark. We got ground power connected. If you guys have any questions, please bombard us.
Yeah, there's professional 737 help in John's chat today. So
yeah, this is a rare, awesome opportunity. And also, don't be shy to join Off-Sched Descent on his streams. He'll type in... Well, you can't type in chat, but Off-Sched Descent, look him up on twitch.tv, give him a follow. When he retires, he'll have a webcam maybe. But anyway, let's go ahead and go on inside and I'll ask you a ton of questions as well. So hit number 4 on the numpad. Whenever, make sure the cursor is active in that simulation window. So if the cursor is over here, now hit 8. Let's just test. Is that chase plane? Oh, you're see how your cursor's over here in the VATSIM client?
yeah.
Hit the backspace there. Now let's go over here. We'll get VATSIM off because they're not on. Now try hit 8. Yeah, hit 4. And as we all know, when we're visiting someone else's sim pit, everything's laid out differently. I do have the MFG crosswind rotor pedals, and you use I think a joystick twist.
Joystick twist, yep.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of nuances with views and this, that, and the other. So I'm going to be helping him out with the nuances of my pit, and he's going to be helping me out with the Boeing language. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get her started.
All right, so here's how the plane's going to look when you first get here, cold and dark. Usually it's going to have ground power hooked up, but it's not connected to the airplane. So what you want to see is the blue ground power on light. I was talking, John, earlier today. You guys use PMDG. Make sure your EECs are on. So PMDG, for some reason, always defaults these EECs to off. And the default state when it's powered down is these things to be on. So
now, when you come in, a lot of the times you're not finding a completely cold and dark aircraft. It's usually at the gate already, ready. It's been powered up.
Somebody's
a little
usually
bit,
flown it,
or it's a turn. Those EECs they'll already be in. They'll be on, obviously, right?
Yeah,
they're never off.
No, not unless you physically go in and turn them off. So the
microphone's losing you a little bit. So
not unless you physically turn them off. The default state for those things when you power down is for them. It comes back on to be on. So it's just a PMDG thing.
okay.
What I've done on my sims is I've set the plane up the way it is, and then I save it as a scenario, and I just always start from that scenario.
Okay. Probably if you look at the sim or the chat over there on the left, you'll stay oriented toward that mic. It's just a really sensitive mic.
Okay, yeah, he's a little different setup than I'm used to.
Yeah, but you sound great. All right, go ahead. Continue here.
All right, so first thing I'm going to do is how do I scroll down to the center panel?
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
Scroll. Isn't this?
Well, you got a couple options. You could scroll around with that, or you can use the mouse.
I'll use the mouse. With the
and then you
button.
hold that bottom. See that bottom button down? You hold that down.
So one of the first things I'm going to do when I get in the airplane is I'm just going to just check some general stuff out. For security reasons and stuff, we're going to check this code hanger right in here. Make sure nothing's hidden. Make sure nothing's hidden or stored under that this storage area here. Sometimes this is a jump seat, so we're just going to make sure that that's clear. Make sure nothing's stored down here. There should be 3 gear pins. I'm going to check. They've got this modeled in this nice. I need to make sure this documentation's on here. This is the airworthiness directive. There's some radio stuff, so I need to make sure that these forms are here. There's a couple other things I probably shouldn't go over. We're going to check the circuit breakers. FO usually checks this side. Captain checks this side. Make sure there's no circuit breakers popped. This is a smoke fighter's mask. And we're going to make sure that this is in here. There's some color codes on this. We're going to make sure that that's correct. Check the fire extinguisher. Make sure that there's agent in there. It's got good pressure. And one of the things I do before I power up the airplane, there's going to be a book. There's going to be a notebook right here, a metal notebook. I'm going to pull this thing open. It's the maintenance log.
You're just cutting out a little bit there.
I need to make sure that the maintenance log, I'm going to open it up and make sure that maintenance doesn't have anything in here that says to restrict us from powering up the aircraft. So I want to make sure any open write-ups have been taken care of with maintenance. If there is an open write-up, I'm not going to touch the airplane until maintenance comes out here. And if I'm at a base where there's not maintenance, I'm going to get on the phone with dispatch, talk to maintenance, and make sure that we're okay to power the airplane. So that's just one of the first things you do. What the first officer is going to do when he gets in, he's going to start up the IRS. Actually, he's going to power it up first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the battery. I'm going to wait 5 seconds in the real jet. In the sim, it's not modeled. But if I were to throw ground power on right now, it's going to put the plane into all kinds of fault tests. And it's going to give us all kinds of nuisance warnings. If I want to avoid that, I just wait 5 seconds. Once that's done, I can put the ground power on. Once the ground power is on, now I've got AC power in the airplane. I can go ahead and arm these emergency exit lights. Coming up here, I want to make sure that the packs are turned off. This is personal preference. Some guys like to turn these bleeds off. Some guys like to leave them on. If I leave these things on, once I start the APU, I'm going to get a dual light up here. The dual bleed light's not a big deal as long as an engine's not running. This is a huge factor for engine. So we start there. Start the IRSs. John, do you have this thing set for a fast IRS or slow?
It's fast.
Fast IRS. So
yeah.
Just going to go line F, line F. In the sim, it's really easy to go to this attitude position.
Accidentally, you mean? Or
in the sim, you can accidentally go to the attitude. In the real plane, you can't.
Okay.
The real plane, to get this thing to go to attitude, you got to physically, this switch pulls out. Physically have to pull this. There's a lock in here. You have to physically pull the switch out and rotate it. The danger with going to attitude is you're going to dump all your navigation data if you go there. This attitude's, if you have a total IRS failure, Attitude gets you to get your
Don't look at me because your microphone.
attitude will
you.
get your HSI back for you. It's
cool.
don't use this normally. This is a
So it's
emergency
a
procedure.
pole. It's kind of like what you showed me with the knobs in the plane.
Yeah, there's
You
some
have to
locking
kinda-
switches and stuff here
Yeah.
I'll talk about. All right, see how these are flashing?
Yeah.
This is kind of cluing me. I need to get a present position too. How do I pull up your FMS?
So one.
There we go. So it's even telling me to enter the IRS position. So we'll not start aligning until we get that. So we're just going to go Salt Lake City.
And this is for you guys. Sometimes we simmers put in the IRS position first, but it's a good idea to put the reference airport in first, or is that just habit?
That's just on the fast align. On this one, when you can't do it when you do the initial alignment. So there's two ways to align the navigate. If this plane's flown already, we can do a fast align, which means I'm just going to use the previous
GPS
alignment
left. Okay.
that somebody else did. I don't know if you guys saw what I did there. I'm just going to steal this GPS position here. I'll put that in. I come back up top. This flashing light should be. Yep. Okay. So normally it takes about 7 to 12 minutes for that. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is the FO is going to go do his walk around. If you hope you don't mind, I don't change this setup.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a fuel panel I'm not used to seeing. So some other things I'm going to do when I first get on the airplane.
That's one thing we need to do. Before we do anything else, let's go back down to the FMC and let's put in the right amount of block fuel just before we get going. So yeah, FS actions, fuel, block fuel.
If we just do probably 17.2 should be plenty.
Okay.
We're just going to fill the mains.
All right.
Go random on the fuel, on the passengers.
Yeah, random's fine. Or you can go return and then payload.
Always just go random.
Yeah, random. It's fine. Perfect.
So
9 of you guys are in first class.
Something I need to pay attention. Look at this gross weight. So 143.3. 144 is my max landing weight. So this is a good number to pay attention to. So I know if I lose an engine or have a problem right away, I'm below my max landing weight. So 144 is the max landing weight in a 800. It's 120 in a 700. We also have to get oil serviced here. So let's get that, or hydraulic fluid service. Let's get that done. This RF, I see right here, 76% RF. This RF stands for required. It requires refilling. RF means refill.
Hydraulic fluid.
For hydraulic, yeah.
Okay.
I may have said oil by accident. So it's called ground maintenance. Service the hydraulic fluid.
never do this. This is going in depth. Huh. So did that just randomly appear, or is it?
It's defaulted that way.
Okay.
Every time I start this thing brand new, it's always low on that hydraulic side. Again, I've saved this.
But that's flyable. I wouldn't notice a hydraulic difference with that number.
No,
it's just saying top off.
It's flyable. We wouldn't fly with it.
Okay.
I wouldn't fly with that thing requiring hydraulic fluid.
Okay.
That's one of those things you call maintenance on, get it fixed. But in the sim, I don't think it's going to do anything.
Okay.
So I think you're good there. So we got the IRSs aligned. Now we just need to start doing our flight planning. So let's go ahead and flight plan. Just going to do Salt Lake City to, we're going to do Salt Lake City to Phoenix.
Salt Lake City to Phoenix up on the top. Hopefully the Sim Toolkit Pro overlay shows altitude and heading and speed today. Yesterday it wasn't, but I think that's been fixed. If you guys have any questions here, it's definitely about Boeing or, politics, rock and roll, religion, all of it.
I don't talk politics on Twitch. I come to Twitch to get away from
That's
politics.
why we brought him here, is just to talk about politics, religion, and yeah, put him on the spot.
In the real world, at least where I work, see, I put the flight plan number here. In the real world, I could put this here. I could do request flight plan.
Whereas we in the simmer world, sometimes we'll put that's the flight number. That's not where we put like if we were Delta DAL 572.
Where I work, we can just put the number.
Just the number, okay.
And it's going to default. As soon as I hit
it knows it's
as soon as I put it in there, it's going
search
to put in the code.
Okay.
And all we have to do is hit this request flight plan. It's going to use CPLDC, and it's going to automatically here.
Yeah.
We can load it, and once I hit load, it's going to be in the route page.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons I kind of like these sims, because the CPLDC doesn't always work, and it's kind of nice to practice this every now and then. PMDG's done a pretty nice job of modeling this FMC. This is really close.
No.
There's a few little things.
757 spy rock and roll. Yeah, any rock and roll trivia questions I can answer for sure.
probably what, 1.6 right?
Good morning, Dave.
Or 1.6 left out of here. I'm guessing.
The Zion's 1, yeah, it's probably 1.6 left, yeah.
So Zion's 1. Out to, is it Milford?
Bryce Canyon.
Oh, BC.
It's right there on the iPad right there in front of you.
There we go. So Jet 11 from there. So now we just go to the route to activate it and execute it. Chat here. Yeah, I can't say anything about UFOs.
We know you were bound to silence, but John Fly has brought you in to tell us the UFO truth. Yeah, exactly. He can't comment on it, but I'll get him to.
Actually, the FO I flew with last week had an absolutely fantastic UFO story that he told. They were out probably 3 years ago. He's a big biker in motorcycle biking. They did a motorcycle tour through Yellowstone, and they were doing some of the backwoods camping. They saw some weird stuff one night. At first, they thought it was a helicopter because a big bright light lit up the area around them, like a spotlight. He said then it went out, whatever it was, went horizontal for about a mile and then went straight vertical. Or he could be just be.
Oh, he was dead serious.
He was dead serious.
Wow. Good morning to best part of the John Fly live streams are the real world pilots like these. Sure appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Cajun Cacti says, John as a real world pilot would kill us with low hydraulic fluid. Amen. I've done it many times, actually. Yeah. That was John Fly in a Cub, they're saying. It went just horizontal and then just boom, vertical.
So for the arrival now, we're just going to do the tents into Phoenix. And so you guys, if you watch my streams, you've heard me say this in the real jets. See how there's 4 different arrivals, each different runway. It doesn't work that way. There's one arrival, and then once you code in the landing runway over here, it'll do this for you.
Okay, yeah. So I guess we're going to do 8, aren't we? So
I'm assuming 8
the Bruiser
active. What's the current?
We're doing the Bruiser 1.
But you got a current 8 is for Phoenix.
Can someone type in exclamation METAR KPHX?
That's Bruiser. I'm thinking tense. Thinking it's probably
Bruiser 1 tense transition.
Tense transition. So we got to activate that.
ILS 8 is fine. Yeah. Can someone do an exclamation METAR K?
So you guys need to close
PHX, I guess.
Need to close that discontinuity. So I don't know if you notice, I just brought the tense up, put it right over those dots. That cleans that up.
Scotty P, good morning.
All right, so perfinite, we're going to climb it. We're going to fly at 340. This, when we get our weight and balance data, these numbers automatically load for us too. These be METAR Phoenix, not METAT.
I like the name METAT.
Somebody types as well as I do. I got these big fat fingers here.
I can't hear you when you go off the mic, but
I got these big fat fingers here.
There you go.
So 120 at 6. This time of day, they'd probably still be landing at 8.
Because of the sun, right?
Yeah. So the big thing of Phoenix is, I flew out of Phoenix for a while. If the winds allow it, it's really easy to figure out what runways Phoenix is using because it's whatever runways are keeping controllers from looking into the sun as they're watching planes come in on final.
Wind permitting, yeah.
Which is usually, it's Phoenix, so usually that's about 93% of the time.
Yeah. And is it typical for all of the airlines to go with like more than 10 knot crosswind is not allowed, or
no?
Tailwind, more than a 10 knot tailwind, or
every plane I've flown has always been a 10 knot tailwind, with the exception of the C-130. The C-130 we had no tailwind restriction in that plane.
Okay.
When I flew DC-10s, we had a tailwind restriction. Learjet, we had a 10 knot tail restriction.
Okay.
7.3 is a 10 knot tail restriction. There are a couple places where there's an exception to that. One is Costa Rica. And with Costa Rica, with all the terrain that's there, they've decided that it's probably safer to accept the risk with 5 more knots of tailwind than it is to be flying into the high terrain.
That makes sense.
So going into, where is it? Santa Cruz? Not Santa Cruz. San Jose. San Jose, Costa Rica, we're allowed to land with a 15 knot tailwind. We can go with the 35 knot tailwind, or crosswind actually, in the 7.3. But if you got the split scimitar winglets, if you got more than a 15 knot crosswind, you got to be really careful with the 15 knot crosswind, because if you don't put any crab in the airplane, you're going to be dragging that lower strake into the ground with more than a 15 knot crosswind. All right.
We wanted to go with what cost index were we happy with today?
40. 40 is a nice
40?
good number. COVID stuff, this is closer to 5 or 15, but 40 is kind of your standard before COVID stuff. Big thing, I need 0 fuel weight, so I need to go back to my setup.
It'll do it automatically.
What?
Click on it. Click on the LSK. See?
Okay, I know that.
Cheat that way.
Reserves, we're just going to do 5. So there's no alternate required today. 5,000 pounds. This reserves is in thousands of pounds of fuel. So I'm saying this thing is programmed, and if it's got me scheduled to land with less than 5,000 pounds, it's going to give me a using reserve fuel caution. So 5,000 pounds of fuel, if I were to really slow this plane down and go to its max economy, it's burning about 74 pounds a minute, which actually probably make 3,800 pounds last an hour. So this is about 3,800 pounds is your no kidding FAR reserve. I don't know anybody who wants to land that low because, I mean, you do one missed approach, your emergency. Matter of fact, even before your emergency, about the time you put your gear down, your emergency fuel. So we use 5,000 pounds as a standard. Now, if I have an alternate, I need to add that alternate fuel on top of it. So
be like 9 or something.
Yeah, so let's just say our alternate.
Well, alternate is Prescott, so
we probably don't need it today. It's nice enough.
Yeah.
It's nice enough today. You probably don't need it, but you got to look at what the fuel burn would be to go missed approach, and it's on your dispatch release. It'll give you a fuel burn, and it's planning on you getting down to your decision altitude, flying missed approach, flying the entire missed approach procedure, and then landing. And it's flying point to point, so it's flying straight from Phoenix to Prescott in this case. Yeah. It's not flying airway, so you got to kind of factor that in.
No.
If you're going into really congested airspace, like we had a guy that was flying into Philly as his alternate, didn't factor in that extra fuel, and ended up being kind of low on gas when ATC factored him all around the place.
Yeah.
So you need to let ATC know if you are diverting, you're low in fuel, you got to say, hey, we're mid-fuel. That's the buzzword you want, is we are mid-fuel. It's not an emergency. What you're telling ATC is if there's any delay, you're going to be an emergency fuel situation.
Yeah.
So emergency fuel in the 7.3 is 3,000 pounds, and mid fuel, if you're predicted to land less than 4,000 pounds, you've got to declare mid fuel TC.
Okay.
So those numbers. Cruise winds, can I line select this too and get it?
Nope.
All right. So usually what I tell guys is, if you're using active sky, use your top of climb winds here. John, if we can pull up that dispatch release we had earlier, we can.
From Active Sky? Or from
the sim tools?
Oh, yeah. So do an Alt tab.
Alt tab, okay.
Hold down Alt and just tab through until you get to
Oh, I see how this works.
Yeah. And then go to
that's it right there.
Sim toolkit, yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna use this one up here. I guess they can't see that, but
they can if you drag it over. They can drag it over if you want. Just hit the square up there.
It's all yours.
It's hard to mouse on a piece of paper sometimes.
Tell you what, let's just.
I'll bring it up. We're good.
Oh, you haven't lost any viewers. That's a good sign.
Okay.
So what I'm doing now is, so here's how your typical flight plan is going to look. These are the top of climb winds right here. So top of climb 350, we're going to be a little low, but here's your winds. So this is what you want to pull off. This 288, 48 is your top of climb winds. And if you actually scroll down here and you look at the winds, you're going to see when you get to top of climb, it's your wind right there. And if you guys really want to get to,
and it's 288/048.
Yeah, and these winds are true. These are not magnetic, so you got to kind of keep that in mind. If you're doing a long flight, it's a good idea to program. These winds are more than 10 degrees off, more than 10 knots. It's a good idea to go in and program these winds in on your flight plan, on your legs page, and I'll show you guys how to do that.
Okay.
If the flight's usually an hour or less, I'm not going to mess with the winds because they're not going to have a big effect. If it's more than an hour and a half, especially if I'm doing a coast-to-coast flight, so if I'm doing like a, let's just say I'm doing a LaGuardia to San Diego, I'm definitely going to put these winds in because that's going to make a big difference on a 6-hour flight. But anyways, the winds were 288/48, so I'm just going to put that right here. And then if you use active sky, oops, I put 088. So to fix just the one number, all I have to do is put 288. It should recognize it's not going to do it. So notice I tried to put 288 here. It doesn't do it. If I put the slash in right afterwards, it should recognize I'm just trying to change this number. Okay, the roll that would take. So I'll just read. So right here, you want the temp dev. This is your temperature deviation from standard day. Let's drag this back, where you can get this on this flight. To the first page here, the top of climb information. Right here, see this +6? So the temperature outside at the top of climb is minus 49 degrees. Temp deviation is +6. This +6 is the number I'm going to put in right here. And these numbers are important because these are getting your FMC to calculate your fuel burn. The closer you can get these numbers, the more accurate it's going to be. So we're just going to change this to 6. Make sure it shows up in the scratch pad. There we go. N1 limit. I can leave this just the way it is. Most simmers do it this way. If I leave this just this way it is, so 61 degrees outside +16. If I leave it just this way right here, the current temperature, this is going to do a max power takeoff. And it's going to give you full takeoff rated thrust. In the real world, we don't do this unless we have to for performance data. Realistically, today, you got a nice long runway. It's not real hot in Salt Lake. It's 4,000 feet. We're going to put in an assumed temperature. We're going to derate this takeoff. We're going to make it do a reduced power takeoff. I'm just pulling this number out of the air. In the real world, our performance data is going to figure out a really precise number for us. But I'm just going to derate to 40 degrees. So I'm just putting assumed temperature. The highest this will be 66. The higher this number, the lower thrust setting it's using for takeoff. And what our takeoff data does is it's going to calculate the lowest thrust setting that's going to allow us to basically have enough runway to still clear all the obstacles and stuff. And usually, if we do a max power takeoff, we're going to be airborne at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet. This is basically allowing me to use the full runway available and save some wear and tear in the engines. We do have VATSIM up. Unfortunately, there's no controllers here. So if we have anybody that wants to do Salt Lake Center on VATSIM, it would be great.
Or ground, or approach, or departure. We'll take anything.
So what I did by putting this assumed temperature in here is I've just derated the thrust to something a little bit lower. I'm trying to get this to go down to one of these, like climb 1 or climb 2. Let me take this to 50, see if it makes a difference. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to get a reduced climb thrust on this, and I'm going to show you the implications of this later. So there we go. Get a derated thrust. So basically, instead of using full takeoff power, I'm using something less than that. Sub takeoff 5, flaps 5.
Now, sometimes you derate for sound restrictions, right?
The only place we run into sound restrictions right now is.
But in general, though, there's some airports for all of the airlines that do derate for sound restrictions.
The place where we really do that is John Wayne.
Okay.
And John Wayne, we got a whole different procedure we do.
I'm sure there's a bunch of other.
That's a good stream just on its own. So the way John Wayne works is we actually do a max power takeoff out of John Wayne. And so the way it is just whoever lives around Orange County, around that airport, has a lot of political pull. And they've convinced the airport authority and the local people there
make it quieter,
to put sound sensors out there. And if on takeoff, there's a threshold. If your departure exceeds the threshold, they're going to fine the airline. So what we do is we do a max power takeoff out of John Wayne. When we get to 800 feet, we're going to pull that thrust down to a setting that's going to be below that sound threshold. So we're going to pull the power back significantly. And instead of getting like a 3,000 or 4,000 foot per minute climb out of there, we're only going to be doing maybe 1,000 to 1,200 to keep the engines quiet. The nice thing about Orange County, though, there's no terrain because you're taking off pretty much out over the water.
Yeah.
So that's a place where basically we're going to climb at 800 feet. We're going to pull the thrust way back. And we're going to keep that really low thrust until we get to 3,000 feet. And we're going to stay dirty until we get to 3,000 feet. 3,000 feet, clean up the airplane. When I say clean up the airplane, I'm talking retracting the flaps and then setting normal climb power.
Yeah.